His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa arrived in Salalah on a private visit to Oman following an invitation from His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman. Upon arrival, His Majesty was received by His Majesty the Sultan, who welcomed him and wished him and his delegation a pleasant stay in Oman. His Majesty was also welcomed by His Highness Sayyid bin Bel'arab bin Haytham Al Said, the chairman of the board of directors of the Central Bank of Oman, His Highness Sayyid Taimur bin Asad Al Said, the governor of Dhofar, His Highness Sayyid Marwan bin Turki Al Said, the Minister of Diwan of the Royal Court, Khalid bin Hilal al-Busaidi, the Minister of Interior, Hamoud bin Faisal al-Busaidi, the Minister of Finance, Sultan bin Salam al-Habsi, the head of the private office, Dr. Hamad bin Saeed al-Awfi, and Oman's ambassador to Bahrain, Faisal bin Harab al-Busaidi. After that, 2 rows of guards of honor saluted His Majesty the King and His Majesty the Sultan. Then the motorcade of their Majesties proceeded to the Rabat House in Salalah. His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa and His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq of Oman held a meeting at Rabat House. At the beginning of that meeting, His Majesty thanked his brother, His Majesty the Sultan, for the kind invitation, the warm welcome and generous hospitality he received, praising the deep historical relations between the 2 brotherly countries. His Majesty the Sultan welcomed His Majesty the King and his delegation, expressing great pleasure in the visit and wishing His Majesty a pleasant stay in the province of Dhofar. Well, Bahraini-Omani relations enjoy special care and attention from His Majesty the King and His Majesty the Sultan of Oman, given their shared interests, unity and destiny and purpose. We have more in this report.
The relations between Bahrain and Oman are marked by a history of brotherhood and cooperation, making these relations a model for the region. The roots of the bilateral relations dates back to centuries, transcending geographical boundaries to embody the spirit of brotherhood and cooperation between the governments and peoples of the 2 countries, with mutual visits playing a pivotal role in strengthening these solid relations. The continuous and reciprocal visits between the leaders of the 2 countries stem from their long-standing bilateral relations and serve to strengthen the bonds of brotherhood and the bonds of kinship uniting them throughout history. These visits also represent a continuation of the process of Renaissance, construction and development led by the governments of the 2 countries, serving the interests of all as part of the unified Arab Gulf system. The foundation laid by the leaders of both countries hundreds of years ago and continuing to this day has illuminated the path of relations between Manama and Muscat at all levels, paving the way for a series of collaborations, understandings and partnerships that have benefited both countries and their peoples. The official visit made by His Majesty the King to Oman in 2000 was a prominent example of the depth of historical relations between the 2 countries, during which several agreements and MOUs were signed that strengthened the bonds of cooperation. The Sultan's visit to Bahrain in 2022 also confirmed the strength of the fraternal ties between the 2 countries, their governments and their peoples throughout history. The bilateral relations have developed day after day until they have reached a level of renaissance that have encompassed various fields and contributed to the development and construction of both countries.
The Ministry of Municipalities Affairs and Agriculture is organising the first Bahrain Veterinary Medicine Forum and Exhibition next month. The Minister of Municipalities Affairs and Agriculture, Engineer Wa'al Mubarak, said that this event represents a leading scientific and cultural platform that brings together an elite group of experts as well as representatives of official bodies and companies working in the veterinary and animal production industries, as well as representatives of the World Organization for Animal Health. He added that the event provides an opportunity to exchange knowledge and experiences on the latest practices and innovations in veterinary medicine. He said that this forum is an opportunity to support animal immunization and disease prevention programs, thereby contributing to consolidating Bahrain's position as a leading regional center for attracting veterinary and scientific investments and supporting the achievement of sustainable development goals. The Minister of Youth Affairs, Arwan Tawfiqi, conducted a field tour to Youth City 2030, accompanied by a delegation from the Kurdistan Foundation, headed by the Director of Programs and Partnerships at the Foundation, Dr. Yara Barzani. The Minister said that Youth City 2030 embodies a pioneering and distinguished regional model in the field of training young people, honing their skills and qualifying them to be leaders. She added that the growing interest in Youth City 2030 reflects the success of Bahrain's experience and confirms its position as a model in youth policies regionally and internationally. Dr. Barzani praised the leading and distinguished projects of Youth City that effectively contribute to preparing new generations and providing them with practical knowledge and skills. She said that Bahrain has a pioneering youth experience worthy of appreciation, noting the importance of exchanging experiences in this regard due to its positive impact on building national capacities. The parliamentary delegation participated in a virtual event organised by the IPU entitled Educational Policies to Prevent Terrorism and Empower Victims. The event focused on examining the role of education in combating terrorism and building generations fortified with knowledge and values of tolerance and moderation. The sessions reviewed successful international experiences in this field. The delegation said Bahrain's participation in this event reflects its commitment to supporting international initiatives aimed at combating terrorism and affirms its active presence in global parliamentary forums, contributing to the exchange of experiences, strengthening international cooperation and consolidating the values of tolerance and coexistence. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs strongly condemned the targeting of World Food Programme trucks in northern Darfur in Sudan. It reiterated Bahrain's call to end the conflict through peaceful means, ensure the protection of civilians and humanitarian workers, and secure the delivery of aid in accordance with international humanitarian law, the Jeddah Declaration, and relevant international resolutions. The ministry stressed the need to preserve Sudan's unity, security and stability in a way that fulfills the aspirations of its people for peace and sustainable prosperity.